Hey everyone, it's CricketSong with Lunar Wisdom, and today I'd like to talk briefly about binding and banishings. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because when I did the banishing ritual, I had a lot of people messaging me and hoping that I was okay and making sure that everything was good because I was banishing an individual from my life because of the crap I had gone through with them. And some people wanted to know why I was choosing to do a banishing instead of a binding if this person was so harmful. Now, again, whenever I do videos like this is just my opinion and how I feel about it. You may find books that are contrary to what I'm telling you, and that's good. And if you disagree with me, that's great. Do what feels right for you, because what's right and true for me may not be right and true for you, and what's right and true for you may not be right and true for me. But this is my understanding of binding and banishings and the differences and why I chose what I chose. When you do a binding, you are binding your energy with something or someone else. And that is an ongoing process for as long as that binding is in effect. An example of a binding is a hand fasting. When two people come together and agree to bind their energies, their essences, their vibrations together with a spell, with a ritualistic spell. And that binding, that hand fasting, stays in contact and is an ongoing spell for as long as that hand fasting remains. And when you decide to no longer be with someone, say you get hand fasted and then feel that the relationship is no longer working, you both want this different things in life, and you decide to end the relationship, then you do a parting of ways. And that's really important because my feeling is if you have hand fasted and binded your being with someone else's being, and then you separate and decide to go separate ways, that binding is still going to be intact unless you cut the cord that has bound you, which is where the parting of ways takes place, where you cut all etherical cords and all binds that you have with the person so that you are free and are no longer tied to each other. So if you bind, and that's if I had, in my situation, in my example, if I had bound this person, if I had bound them so that they could no longer cause harm, physical or spiritual or emotional harm to me, then that would have tied my energies with that individual indefinitely. And that was the furthest thing that I wanted to do. I did not want to be tied to this person in any way, shape, or form. The other issue I have with binding is the manipulation of someone else's will against their will. So in the example of hand fasting, that's an agreement that you've made with someone else to come together and to bind your spirits or your energies together. If I am going to do a binding because I feel that this person is harmful and I have not gotten their consent to do so, then I feel like I'm manipulating their free will. And I know that people will come back with, yeah, but what if they're self-abusive? What if they're going to commit suicide? What if they are harming other people? I still would not do a binding. I just would not do a binding. Again, number one, because it's going to tie my energy to that person indefinitely until we cut the cord. And what's going to happen once we cut the cord is their same destructive behavior still going to be there. There's no guarantees. They have free will. And number two, they have a life experience to play out, and who am I to decide what's good or bad for them? That's why I don't do a binding. And I understand that there are situations that people are going to say, what about when there are children involved? I mean, we can sit here and debate situation by situation, but in the end, if you're comfortable with what you're doing and you feel that a binding is necessary and is okay and is ethical, and you are willing to take responsibility for everything, all actions that come from your actions, and you are good with the threefold, and you are good with the law of return, and you're fine with all that, then by all means, you should do that binding. But my thought is, don't take it lightly. Don't take anything lightly. Remember the witch's pyramid. Remember what is needed and required before you do any sort of thing. And that includes binding. Banishing. The reason why I chose banishing in my example of getting rid of this person is because for me, banishing means leaving behind, means pushing aside, means getting rid of and letting go. And that's why I chose a banishing. This person had been in my life and had caused drama and hurt, psychological, emotional hurt, not only to me, but to others. And I just wanted to get rid of this person, say goodbye, release them with no harm, and just say, be on your way. I do not want to be with you, merry part. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and neither should we ever meet again. That's why I did the banishing. I generally do banishings like for bad habits or negative thoughts. Get rid of it, release it, and forget about it. It no longer ties my energy to this thing. I am just releasing and letting go and burning or burying or cutting or whatever it is that I do to get rid of it. That's what I do. So binding ties you to something and banishing releases something. And that's why I choose the difference. I choose to do the banishing. So my thought is with the banishing, consider what that's going to mean too. Because when I do banishing, it's under the understanding that this thing, this person, or this situation is no longer going to be part of my life. And sometimes you have to look at the thing or the person that you're banishing, and when they leave, what they would take with them. Because sometimes that's not always a good option either, because you do not want to get rid of everything that is associated with that individual or that situation. And again, consequences and responsibility comes into play as well. So no matter what you do, a binding or banishing, really think through and be willing to take responsibility for everything that you do, whether it be a binding or banishing. So hopefully you understand the difference as I understand it. But again, this is just my feeling and my point of view on binding versus banishing. If you have questions, comments, insights that you'd like to share, please feel free to leave a comment. If you have a personal question or about what I've talked about or a situation that you may have, feel free to message me. I generally check my YouTube inbox every day, usually, unless my PC is broken. But that would be it. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Mwah.